Welcome back, folks. Today, I do not have that much of time, so we will have a shorter session today. Um, Let us start from where we left off last time. I would like to share screen. So this verse is where we left off last time. Esha te bhita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrunum buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. This verse marks the closing arguments of the, the philosophy or the theory part of things. And it will just let me. Yeah, something is happening with the video today. Anyhow, let's keep going. So this verse forms kind of the concluding portion of the theory part of the Vedanta, and it begins to set stage for one of the most important things that Bhagwad Gita is known for, which is the Karma Yoga, the theory, the doctrine of karma and the theory of Karma Yoga. So this is starting to gather the elements towards coming to discuss the main tasks that are involved in karma yoga, which we'll say that is probably the most popular verse from the Bhagavad Gita. We'll get to it in another 5 or 6 verses. So what he's saying is in this verse, Esha te bhita sankhye buddhir yoge tvimam shrunum. So let me because I'm sharing in the screen and back, there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. So this has been taught. Esha te bhita sankhya. This has whatever we discussed is what is Sankhya. This is the Sankhya philosophy. Esha te bhita sankhya buddhir yoge tvimam shrunam buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. I will now start to teach you about yoga. So yoga is a word that has several meanings. That's like dharma, depending on the context in which this gets used. And we know that since one of the main message that Bhagavad Gita carries is that of karma yoga. So this yoga here that is being mentioned is the yoga of karma. And so this requires some amount of background to understand where Sri Krishna is coming from, what the doctrine of karma is. We'll see a few of the shlokas that follow, and I will try to cover as much grounds as I can. This particular topic can about doctrine of karma, it can get fairly technical. We don't want to get too much technical, but just enough so that we can appreciate the different teachings that come later on about the karma yoga. So let me move to the next verse. We share the screen again. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. This what Sri Krishna is saying is generally when certain spiritual practices are prescribed. You you want to try and follow a certain religion, or let me stop sharing, or you want to start on a new path of spirituality or something. There are guidelines given, and you are supposed to follow something. You might also be asked to give up something. So here in this verse, Sri Krishna is saying, Neha Bhikramana Shosti. In this yoga, na again in this word, na is is a is a prefix that gets used whenever we want to negate something. So na, we have seen that several times. So neha bhikramana shosti. Neha in this case is this yoga. Neha bhikramana shosti. Nasha is loss, destruction, or the giving up of things. So this yoga that Arjuna I'm talking about, this yoga is not going to ask you to renounce, give up things that you are doing now. On the contrary, it's going to encourage you to keep doing what you are doing, and nor will it ask you to minimize things or make compromises. It is not going to ask you to give up, to minimize or compromise. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharma. Swalpa is little. So up is even if swalpamapyasya. Let me share my screen again. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat swalpamapyasya. Swalpa, like I said, is little. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya. This dharma, if you follow a little bit of it, trayate, it will take you across. You will be able to go across. Mahato bhaya. Mahata is great. Bhayat is basically this all this suffering that one has in life, and it ranges. Everybody suffers to whatever extent, and sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It can get very painful at times. So all this put together hopes you an epitome of all this suffering. If you were to put together this, by following a little bit of this dharma, you will be able to cross this suffering. That is the gist of this verse here. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayad. I'm actually in two minds when to start the explanation or delve into some of the technicalities of karma. Maybe I'll hold off for a little bit because it is pretty technical, like I mentioned before. Let's look at the next verse. Vyavasayatmika buddhi, vyavasayatmika buddhi, eke hakuru nandana, bahushakhyanantascha, buddhayo vyavasayinam, vyavasayatmika buddhi. So the focus, the one pointedness that you have, this you need to be able, you should be dedicated. Your effort should be one pointed, concentrated, dedicated towards your cause, whatever it is. You decide to become an astronaut, a doctor, you once you get hold of this ambition of yours, then you wholeheartedly plunge into it. So in this case, vyavasayatmika buddhi, our aim here is to understand the final truth that is there. And we have been covering what this truth is from some of the earlier verses, and that's what was mentioned in the previous verse, that this is part of Sankhya. So we went over what this truth is. The most important verse of the Bhagwad Gita we had seen was na sato vidyate bhav, na bhavo vidyate satah. We spent enough time on this. But here, Vyavasayatmika is our dedication towards the understanding or attainment of that goal. That is the Vyavasayatmika is that is being talked about here. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Eke hakurnandana. The single pointed devotion that is required. Eke hakurnandana. If you have this single pointed devotion and dedication towards attainment of the goal, that is the requirement. But bahu is bahu is many, shakha is branches. So there is a, if your efforts are spread in multiple branches, bahu shakha yarantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam, then such a person will not be able to achieve this goal. And I mean, from a very practical purpose, this is a very obvious statement. There, superficially, let me stop sharing this. There isn't, it appears as if there isn't much to take from it, but there is some degree of historical context to it, some degree of the environment, the ecosystem in which this knowledge is being spoken about is influencing why this statement is being made. So we will shed some light on that and just clarify this particular verse. Let me quickly look at the next verse before. Okay, so okay. So what this verse and the previous verse, the different ways, if you consider the time at which this Bhagavad Gita is being told, there was a lot of commotion and chaos. That there was a chance of commotion and chaos based on what you were doing before. What is it that you were learning? So there are the four Vedas. There were different schools of thought, and pupils used to go there, and they would go and study a particular Veda, and their Vedas were big, very big texts, and you would probably become experts in some of them, and there were very elaborate rituals, and you would try and know them as much as you can. So there might be a very, very detailed procedure about how you would pray to, or you would about a white horse, Ashwamedha Yajna, that's called as. So this horse, how it represented the different powers that are there and how you would prepare it. A very detailed explanation about how that has to be done, what kind of a homa sacrifice needs to be laid, what mantras you would say, and a lot of details. And you might get pretty good at it. You will learn and learn and learn and learn, and you know everything. Maybe this is a yajna that goes on for, I don't know, 10 days. And what happens on the first day and this and that. And so there is a lot of rituals that therefore the Vedas, they are broken up into roughly at a broadly. There are two parts. There's Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So Karma Kanda is where all these procedures are there, and Jnana Kanda is where the Upanishads are there. So in this Jnana Kanda, first of all, in the Karma Kanda, all the rituals there, but even in Jnana Kanda, this thing that we referred earlier, na sato vidyate bhava, na bhava, this is like the ultimate truth. Different ways in which one can approach this truth and try to understand it have been explored. And some of these paths that are there to get to it, they are related, others are very different. And one path might appear to contradict another path. One path might find it understandable. So if you are a person who is believing in a formless aspect of God, and you appreciate the fact that this God, this force that is there, it is possible for it to manifest itself through images, through idols. You might be okay if somebody is worshipping an idol in the form of God. And if there is somebody who is worshipping an idol, and if you go and tell, hey, he is very wholeheartedly, devotedly doing it. And if you go and tell him, hey, what are you doing? This is all nonsense. It is going to, if he takes you seriously, it's going to hurt whatever he has been doing. So many other instances can be seen over here. So the point is that whatever direction you pick, once you have selected it, then there is no going back. Don't waver. You can go back, obviously, but you will be losing a lot of ground by going back. So whatever it is you pick, don't make lukewarm efforts. Wholeheartedly plunge into it. Whatever you want to become an engineer, so you start doing math and trigonometry and geometry, and then you start working towards it, and then you say, you know what, this is I don't like what is happening here, the sine theta, cos theta. I don't like this. Let me try and become a doctor. Let me learn biology. So then the effort that you have put in to understand this math and all that for maybe 2, 3, 4 years, you would have wasted that. So that is why, that is the idea why this verse Sri Krishna is telling here, because it has got this context. So you come from these different schools, from different, there were ashrams where different rishis taught pupils different kind of things. So you can compare notes, but don't switch, don't keep switching. Be single pointed. That is what is being covered in this couple of verses that we saw. Okay, let me, and you will see that this particular train of thought is being repeated in the following verses. And because I gave you this background, these following verses, they will become even more clear now. So he's saying, Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha. Yamimam, imam, all these. Yamimam pushpitam Pushpa is flower, so it's the language uses is beautiful. It's flowery, but it's probably taken slightly differently as well. It's somewhat esoteric. Yeah. Anyhow, Yamimam pushpitam vacham, words, these words, they're flowery words. Pravadantya vipaschitaha, avipaschitaha. The people who do not understand the meaning of these words, they will they will say these words, but they don't really understand the potent that is there behind this. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya avipaschitaha. Vedavadartha is the followers of the Vedas. Vedavadavarta Partha. Vedavadarta Partha. Nanyadastiti Vadinaha. So they are saying that these people who unwise is what it is saying here. They think that this is just the words uttered. They are just mere representations of something fantastic and don't mean much. That is their thinking of the word. So if you take these words that we keep going back saying it's the most important words of the Bhagwad Gita and indeed of the whole Vedanta. Na sato vidyate bhava, na bhavo vidyate sata. So these words, they appear all mystic and they seem to betray a sense of mystery in them, but it is nothing like that. It's You can look at it that way, or someone might take these words and give all kinds of explanation but really not understand what's going on behind it. So even this, you can trace this back to what we said earlier. The karma kanda, you would do all kinds of rituals and you would put in a lot of effort to do it, and you might even get some kind of success through it. But what the Bhagavad Gita is saying, or what the Vedas are saying, is not that which is taking place by executing these procedures. In fact, the next verse, let's see the next verse. And like I said, I have to wrap up early today. So maybe after this verse, I will conclude this session. But I think when we should be able to relate to this verse based on the background that I gave. Kamatmana swarga paraha. Kama is desire. So different kind of desires are there. So this, I have a desire for having a son. Then there is a putra kameshti yajna. So you do that yajna, and I don't know, maybe it works and people have been blessed with a son or not. So that is a kind of yajna. Or I have a desire that I want to go to heaven. So there'll be some kind of yajna for that, and so on and so forth. These kind of desires. There could be others also. There is a very dark side to some of these tantric practices where there are different kinds of desires that are there. We are not going to get into that. Kamatmana swarga paraha. So in this case, very specifically, Sri Krishna is saying that I have a desire to go to heaven after death, obviously. And there's this joke that gets told about this heaven thing, that in a class, the teacher, some religious class, the teacher is asking the student, what need what should you do in order to go to heaven? and he was expecting to invoke answers like, you should be honest your whole life, you should help others, and yeah, all kinds of good things that are there. So this one bright student, he raised his hand, and the teacher said, okay, what what needs what needs to happen so that you can go to heaven? And he goes, you need to die. Unless, so that's kind of the underpinning thing here, that which makes Vedanta very different from all the religions, where it doesn't it doesn't ask you to, or ask you to believe that whatever it is that you're going to get will be after death. So nevertheless, it's a slight digression, but kamat mana swarga paraha, in order to go to swarga, the yajna that needs to be done, I have a desire for that. Kamat mana swarga paraha janma karma phala pradam. So janma karma phala, janma is the life, karma, janma karma phala is the fruits of these actions. So the resulting in good birth, that janma karma phala, in resulting in good birth and other kind of prosperity that it can bring to me, that kind of desire to go to heaven, to have a good life, to have a better life, to have prosperous life, your own prosperous life, your children's prosperous life, and so on and so forth. Kriya Vishesha Bahula. Right? In so this Kriya Vishesha is you special kind of ceremonies you can do. Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Bhogaishwarya Gatim Prati. In short, the the fulfillment, uh, one second here. So this in order to to get these desires of going to Swarga and all that we said, they have very detailed rituals that one is supposed to do, and there'll be all nice flowery words that they would use, these people who don't understand what is happening. Again, it's kind of going more into some of the details of the negative side of things. The following verses, let me just well, it continues, maybe another verse, but I would have to stop here for today. I will have to conclude this session for today. Let me just recite this verse. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayapahruta chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. So I'm just going to paraphrase this, that if your energies, mental energies, are distracted and given away in all these other various pursuits, then you are not a good candidate for being considered for the achievement of this ultimate goal. Na sato vidyate, that kind of goal. You will not be able to achieve that goal if you fritter away your energies in all these other uh, transient and petty things. So he is just laying, Sri Krishna is laying the groundwork that is required for an aspirant to be able to achieve success in this most difficult of pursuits. Okay, I guess next time I will try and delve more into the technical definitions and details of what karma is. Without that, the verse that we'll be getting into, it will not be easy to understand. So what is the karma and who is doing it, and so on and so forth. Okay. Uh, Thanks for listening to this, and we will meet next time. Bye.